wanting to ramp up testing each day, it appears the numbers just aren't reaching the target. So joining us now with more is Michelle Hoad, the CEO of the Medical Laboratory Professionals Association of Ontario. Michelle, good to see you in this way anyways. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, I mean, you told us before that labs have proven they can hit that capacity of 19,000 plus tests every single day. So what's behind the low numbers?
I think there needs to be a separation and understanding of lab capacity and specimen collection. So what's happening right now in the media is everybody's confusing these two things. So it's pretty simple. When you go to a collection center, you actually get a test. When you get a test, that test travels to the lab. That front end process has actually not been very busy. So as of this morning in this announcement, that will become very busy. So the numbers coming into the lab haven't been very high. So a lot of people have been saying, we haven't hit 20,000 numbers. Well, we haven't hit 20,000 numbers because we haven't actually got 20,000 tests.
Is that because people are being turned away, saying they don't fit the criteria when they go to these assessment centers?
I think what happened is in the beginning, we were very specific on who would get tested. And so that got loosened up a little bit last weekend. And now this morning's announcement means anybody can get tested, which is the exact thing we should be doing here in Ontario. We need anybody that wants to get tested should get tested. And now we'll really start to test and see if the capacity is an issue.
That's really interesting because it's a good note to point out that, testing is getting the bad rap here, saying there's just not enough testing, but really there's just not enough people getting tested that we're able to get tested. So it's a front end issue is what you're saying.
Exactly. Just in speaking to a whole bunch of labs last weekend, their utilization was actually really low. There were a lot of lab technologists that were working last weekend, very few tests coming in. But this week, you'll notice that all the numbers are starting to rise. So people are actually going in because the criteria got opened up last Friday. So people waited through the long weekend and they decided to get tested. We anticipate with this announcement today, we should start to see all those testing numbers rise higher and higher and higher. And in 14 days from now, when we're having this conversation, I think we'll really start to see if we are going to be able to meet that capacity.
Okay, and speaking of that, how long would it take to get a sample from an assessment center to one of your labs?
It all depends on where it's coming from. So if we're talking about Timmins, Ontario, it could potentially have to fly in a helicopter. If we're talking about downtown Toronto, it could probably go right into the lab that it's being done. So it depends. Right now, the turnaround time is anywhere from 12 hours to 24 hours to 2 days to 3 days. So it all depends really on where you are.
Okay, and just before this, we heard from Premier Ford, as I'm sure you were watching, saying, anybody who wants to get a test, go get a test, bring your family with you if you want. Is that the key we need to have in place to make sure that we are aware of a second wave, to stave off a second wave? Like, how will it factor into what happens next?
It's actually really, really good news. It's good news that anybody that wants to get tested should get tested. That will provide us more data to kind of see where are the cases. Are there some more popular cases in some communities? We need to be careful. I think, just yesterday looking at some of the images with everybody out at the park, at Liberty Park, it's very concerning. Like if 2 weeks now we see a large jump in numbers in that community, we can know it's definitely associated. So that announcement is actually really, really good for us. It will help us move forward, and it'll help us as people in Ontario to know what are our test results. Let's get them back. Am I positive? Am I negative? Even if you're negative, you need to stay home.
Yeah, and time will tell exactly what events precipitate another surge. Like we saw Mother's Day, will we see from the park from yesterday? We'll wait and see, and your labs will help fill in the gaps there. So Michelle, thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
That's Michelle Hoad.